Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
And good morning to you. A grumbly good morning to you. It's November 8th. It's a date that we've been, I don't know if looking forward to is the right appellation. I don't even know if appellation is the right word. But here it is, Election Day. God help us. And Election Day is on a Tuesday for some reason. I guess that was an early effort to suppress the vote. And that means my sister Susan should be on the line. Hi, Suze.
Yeah, you're suppressing my vote. I have to go do that.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I want to start there because I am just outraged at what's happening already here.
Yeah, I mean, everybody, the election in your state, the election in Michigan, there are places where they're just, nothing's happened and they've already called it into question. It's terrible.
Right. Well, here's what's happening here, and I just want to get the word out. If for some reason some people who voted by mail and think they've already voted, that there is a chance that your ballot has been rejected, sequestered, and will not, in fact, be counted because you didn't properly date the envelope. Has nothing to do with your ballot. Either you didn't.
I swear they put trick questions on these things. You think you're done, and unless you've gone over with a microscope the whole damn ballot. You will make a mistake because I mean, you told the story of how I goofed on Mother's.
Yes. Well, this is a similar situation, and they put out a list yesterday.
Witnessing, folks, witnessing. Unless you have the wrong idea, I was simply witnessing her ballot.
Allegheny County put out a list of those voters who cast mail-in ballots and who think they voted, but their votes are not going to be counted. And there is over 1,000. Over 1,000. I went through the list, name by name by name, looking for, first of all, myself, then looking for anybody
people you knew. Yeah.
And I found two names that I knew. One turned out not to be, it happened to be a person who had the same name as that person. The other one, it's not that I know him, I just recognize the name, as will a lot of other Pittsburghers, because he's a former Pittsburgh Steeler. Louis Lips. Louis Lips thinks he voted, but his vote has been pulled because he somehow didn't date it properly. And when I saw what they put out, it is, and listen to this, let's say you see your name there, you can still, what the verb they use here is cure your ballot. Fix it from this terrible disease of being misdated. But to do it, you have to, in person, go downtown to the city county building, go up and go through an entire process. If by chance you can't do it yourself, you can, I guess, designate somebody else, but they're going to jump through 500,000 more hoops. And I believe, last I saw, you have to do this during normal business hours. Now, the chances that someone's going to know their vote is not going to count, and that even if they know, they're going to be able to cure it. I would think that of those 1,000 ballots, there's probably going to be at least 600, 700 that will not be counted.
No, I think more like 900.
Well, who knows? I don't know. And in Philadelphia,
unless they're doing what?
Well over 2,000 votes. And this is what This is
but Lynn, don't you think they might be doing what they did in Wisconsin? Because the reason that we know that I screwed up Mother's ballot is that they contacted her, and I don't. And when I say they, I don't mean the Democratic Party was on it. And I have to assume that the Democratic Party in Pennsylvania. Yes.
No, that's how I found out. But that's because a lot of the party, a lot of volunteers are now desperately calling everybody on that list and trying to let them know. This is like a grassroots ad hoc effort. By the way, if you you should access this information. It's at the Allegheny County website. And also, I want to give out a number where any questions can be answered. And it's 1-833-PA-VOTES. PA votes. 833-PA votes if you have any questions. But here is the thing, Susan, that makes me insane. What these Republicans do is they put up all of these hurdles, and then when people trip over them, when the system gets bogged down because of all of this stuff, and thus the count of votes ends up not being able to be done
right
the election night. Then they
cite that as proof of fraud. Yes,
fraud.
Of course,
that's proof of fraud. So they've set it up and then use their own setup to show that it's rigged.
And you see, this is the part that I don't get, though, because I'm not fooled by this. You're not fooled by this. Several people are tripped up by this, but I mean, there is anybody that still thinks that the elections are being rigged by anyone except the people screaming they're rigging the elections when they mean we're rigging the elections.
Yeah.
I mean, the part that I don't get is how it is so effing effective, given that 2/3 of the nation knows better.
Well, all you got to do, they know it's a game of numbers. You just need to peel because things are close. You
just need to peel. You just need to trip up a few
here and there. Yeah, and it works. And the Washington Post did a really extensive article about this, and they focused on the impact in Philadelphia. And there's a picture of a man and his wife in a wheelchair, and they waited for hours. They heard their ballots had been rejected. They waited for hours because no one at the Philadelphia City Hall had thought to have extra people on hand for this. And people were waiting in line for hours and hours and hours to cure their ballot because they had put a wrong date on it, as if that has anything to do with anything. There was a woman quoted in the article.
See, what gets me, how did the court say that passed constitutional muster?
Oh,
I mean, your Supreme Court ruled in on this. How did that happen?
You tell me. Supposedly, it's beyond belief. Because the law states that. But the law is on its face. If the effect of the law is to suppress the vote, that's unconstitutional. Right. And other courts have said these things it's unconstitutional. It doesn't have anything to do with the ballot. It doesn't. If the vote is in the hands of the ballot counters, then it got timely in a timely fashion.
Right. And if they accidentally put the wrong year, like 21, well, that ballot wasn't printed in 21, so they know that was, and it again does not affect the context of the ballot. To me, none of this should have ever gotten this far, and that's the problem, that the courts have now been clearly. The reputation of the courts has properly and clearly been called into question because they are not doing anything except acting politically, and they are.
This court, Susan, this is what doesn't make sense. This court is filled with liberal justices.
Well, then they fucked up.
I have never comprehended what happened. So listen to this. Panina Bernstein was thousands of miles away in Colorado when she found out this weekend from strangers who contacted her via Facebook that her ballot was undated and would not count. She made immediate plans to get back to vote. And she's quoted in this Washington Post article as saying, "I'm flying home tonight. I'll be there to fix it tomorrow because my voice will not be silenced by voter suppression." She's 40 years old. She added, "I'm not wealthy. Making this trip, doing this is a significant expense to me." People waiting for hours. People taking the guy whose wife was in the wheelchair, missed work to go and correct it. But a lot of people can't. Other people aren't even going to know. This is simply an outrage. And that the mobilization to contact voters is happening in this decentralized, ad hoc, grassroots way is mind-blowing. And in some respects, gratifying. Yeah. But the concern is that quite clearly, thousands upon thousands of Pennsylvanians, their votes are not going to be counted. Now, John Fetterman has apparently sued. I haven't seen any articles about this. I just saw a tweet. He has sued the election officials to have these undated and mistakenly dated ballots count. But you see, that all of that legal stuff will happen after the election, which will allow the Republicans and Fox News and all that, their whole misinformation machine, to say, see, they're stuffing the votes in now. They've got bags and suitcases of them. It's just mind-blowing. And the Supreme Court, as if their ruling wasn't unbelievable enough, it was just this Saturday, so 3 days before the election, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court issued an order clarifying, that's what they think they're doing, clarifying what an incorrectly dated envelope is. Specifically, get this, mail-in ballots with dates of September 19 through November 8 are properly dated. Absentee ballots with dates of August 30 to November 8 are properly dated. All others will be segregated and will not count pursuant to the court's order. And there is not opportunity to notify impacted voters by letter. We are instead providing a list of those voters. And that's when the ad hoc and grassroots thing came. It is. My understanding is, from the reporting I've seen locally, is that yesterday, this information really pretty much just came out, that yesterday, I think it was over 150 people did come downtown and cure their vote.
But what you see is that nothing makes someone want to vote more than someone trying to stop them. I mean, that's why they were lining up in Georgia before the polls opened.
The president of the Pittsburgh AFL-CIO affiliate of I don't know what union said his members, they counted 147 of people whose ballots had been set aside. And they created a phone bank and they'd contacted about 100 of them by 5 o'clock last night, expected to reach all of them by 5 o'clock today. But even reaching them doesn't mean that they're going to have the opportunity to get downtown and get this thing done. So I can't believe this. It's just extraordinary to me. Extraordinary.
Well, you know, it's a proud American tradition to suppress the vote. Or it wouldn't be held, or Tuesday would not be election day. Or it would be a national holiday where no one had to work if it were on a Tuesday. Or, like in other countries, there'd be 5 days, you know, when you can just mosey in whenever you want it. You know, anything that makes it harder to vote is voter suppression. I'm sorry. That's it.
But according to the triumphant other side, anything that makes it easy to vote is fraudulent, creates fraud.
Which is why, and it's proved by the fact that the only people that regularly commit that particular fraud turn out to be Republicans. Apparently, they're trying to prove that you can do it.
I was heartened to see that there are still, almost half, there are 40-some states that do allow people to register the day of the election. Now, God, around here you can't do that. So that you could just walk in and register and cast your vote. Astonishingly, Wisconsin's one of them. That won't stay if what's about to happen happens.
Wisconsin is being hailed across the country as a fascist state.
Yeah. Right. It'll be a one-party state where Democrats will have no standing whatsoever because they will have an absolute control of all governmental entities and agencies.
Right. And so I'm going to leave it. I'm moving from a state where my vote doesn't count because it's redundant to a state where it will be suppressed.
Mm-hmm. Well, better have it in Wisconsin.
I'd rather have it in Wisconsin because I have more standing to fight.
Unbelievable, though. So that's where we are on this election day.
Yeah, I woke up this morning and I thought, oh, fuck, it's election day. You know, I mean, it's like we're going to find out just how bad it's going to be. You know, and it's just, and then I thought, no, you aren't going to find out how bad it's going to be. That's going to it's going to grow. And then we don't know how much it's going to grow into and how violent it's going to be. And how, you know, I mean, because I can't adjust to the time adjustment. At 4:30 in the morning, I'm sitting there worrying about the end of the world because it's election day. Yeah. That's not the way I used to react to election day. I used to wake up with a sense of excitement and anticipation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now it's just pure heart clenching anxiety. Ellen writes, if I heard correctly, you may still go to your polling place and fill out a provisional ballot if anything was misstated. I'm not sure about that. I think you might be right. You know what? Here's why you got to call that 833 PA vote.
I think she might be right. In other states, you can certainly do that.
No, but then my understanding is
then they're going to say you tried to vote twice and
then you tried to vote twice. Yeah, they'll have
not if it's a provisional ballot.
Yeah, well, okay. I have no idea. But
the fact that it would be a provisional ballot would be proof that you weren't trying to vote twice. You were only trying to vote once. But make sure that you had that vote.
I don't know.
If you squeak through the line and just did a regular ballot, that would be fraudulent.
Mm-hmm. Jesus. Chris sent me something which she said was posted by an ex-friend. We don't live in a democracy, thank God. Democrats.
We live in a republic.
Democracy. Democrats use the word democracy over and over because they want to normalize mob rule.
Now that's been one of the talking points I noticed on commenting lines for the last several years. We are not a democracy. We are a republic. To which I always say, fine, then you stay home on election day. Don't vote.
Well, it's a Republican form of government with a. It
makes absolutely no sense. It is a Republican.
It's a unique experiment. It's the unique experiment that was cobbled together in Philadelphia.
We have a representative democracy.
Yeah, supposedly, and we are losing it. And I want to. Paul Krugman today has a piece that will chill you, because first of all, he points out, and I thank him for it because I'm one of the people he's talking about. He said, it's been 10 or 20 years since those of us who were called alarmists have been talking about where the Republican Party is heading. And he says the alarmists have now been vindicated every step of the way. So we were not Chicken Littles. The sky was falling. He says, actually, it's conventional wisdom these days that if the Republicans take over, that they will try to create an America that mirrors Viktor Orban's Hungary, which would be a democracy on paper, but really a white nationalist authoritarian one-party state, which is exactly what they want to do.
State.
Yeah, but the chilling thing of what he says is that I believe that conventional wisdom is wrong, because if America descends into one-party rule, it will be much worse, much uglier than what we see in today's Hungary.
Yeah.
And to buttress that pessimistic feeling, he says, if you look at Orban's Hungary, it is a deeply repressive regime. But the repression is done very subtly. It is, one perceptive article, he says, put it, it's called soft fascism, which makes any dissident powerless through its control of media and the economy. It doesn't have to beat people up or put them in jail. He's managed to do that. He has created this repressive, fascistic system
where people are afraid.
Yes. But this is then what Krugman says. And who's going to argue with this? He says, do you think a MAGA regime would be equally subtle? No. There's never been anything subtle about them. They've been full on, full-throated, full out, full of vindictiveness, of
hatred,
to
of violence,
and kill, right?
Yeah.
Punish, hang, shoot, whatever. And the reality is that much of the Republican Party is sympathetic, or definitely, certainly not willing to condemn violence against their opponents. So Krugman says that if MAGA wins, we will find ourselves wishing we lived in a country as relatively
free as Hungary.
Yes, and non-violent as Hungary, because he sees the ugliness that is afoot, and it is ugly. So,
well, I'm not to be Chicken Little or say I told you so, but how many decades ago did I suggest that we were arming the insurrectionists to take over the country?
I don't know.
Well, I've been saying forever that that there's the point between the NRA and the Republicans joining forces, it was to arm their side.
Yeah, but here's the thing: you can, and they are all armed, but it doesn't work. It allows them to be these paramilitary groups and these intimidators, but if they can't take on the military.
No, but they sure as hell can terrorize a neighborhood or a town. They can take it over.
Oh, well, which is why there's got to be a handle put on these organized paramilitary groups. I don't know how like that.
What they were doing in Arizona.
Yeah. But the thing is, well, look, you can't do both sides here. There is no doubt that all of these threats of violence, intimidation, murder, they're coming from one side. Yes, there's a here and there, the Scalise shooting, here, the guy in front of Kavanaugh's house.
Who called up and turned himself in? I'm tired of using him.
If you start adding these things up, no, it is not. It's no question that the political violence is coming
is on one side alone,
and it's not just. I used to say the right, but now I want to make clear it's the Republican Party. It's actually one of the two parties because
otherwise, where was the statement about Paul Pelosi? Instead, we got jokes.
So if you have one of the parties whose response to the attempted murder of the 82-year-old husband of the Speaker of the House is to joke about it, then that party then is aiding and abetting the violence. And there was a good piece in the Week magazine by the editor, because he said, one of the things that always, the things that the ones that want to excuse these kinds of violent attacks, one of the things they always hang on to is, well, the attacker was mentally ill.
Right.
So all the shooters, a person who shoots up and kills a bunch of black people, a bunch of brown people, a bunch of Jews, puts a hammer, to Paul Pelosi's head. Well, they're mentally ill.
Oh, yes.
It's mental illness. And then he says,
that gives rise to so many questions.
Yeah.
Why are we arming them then?
Yeah. Then what triggers all these mentally ill people? What are they? And how do they determine? Isn't it interesting? All these mentally ill people that get violent. First of all, most mental illness has nothing to do with violence. That's
what I keep saying when they try to apologize for Ye because he's bipolar. Yeah. Well, I know lots of bipolar people that are not assholes.
Haters.
Well, they aren't assholes.
Exactly. So. What, though? Think of all the unstable people in this country, and what party is feeding them information designed to make them think that they are at extraordinary risk and need to take action? What party is telling them that their election was stolen, that the COVID vaccinations are an attempt to
murder them and spy on them.
Right. That Jews control the world, that pedophiles are grooming children and drinking their blood, and Nancy Pelosi's part of it. and that white men are the most persecuted group in the country. Who's peddling these grievances? The Republicans. And if you look at all of the carnage and the victims of the intimidation and all this stuff, they have been infected with the beliefs that are being peddled by the Republican Party, so that we have now, armed security guards around synagogues, around some schools. We have people who volunteer to help have an election work being intimidated. We have people on school boards being threatened and screamed at in school board meetings. And again, I asked you, who are the people doing all of that? They are Republicans. It is no longer a civilized or civil party. It is a party of vengeance and mayhem and murder. And that the United States of America, the voters of in this election, are supposedly going to give that party control of the House of Representatives and who knows what else, suggests that we are doomed. You cannot have a country with this level of mass derangement. I mean, the Republican Party has stoked all of this rage and fear and lies and decency, where people don't know truth from God knows what. And everybody who's paying attention says, and where we are right now, we're going to look back on this in a few years and say, whoa, remember when we could, go to the store and, thanks. There, that's a better, remember when we could vote? Yeah. So if you're voting today, vote as if it's your last time. That it makes any sense. Vote as if the brown shirts are kicking in your door, because that is where we are. Of the more than 440 extremism-related murders in this country in the last decade, as far as they can determine that kind of cause, 440 murders that have been laid at the feet of an extremist point of view by the murderer, almost 80% were committed by Republicans, by right-wing. They say right-wing extremists. Well, I ask you, who do the right-wing extremists vote for? Republicans. Okay, so let's just call them Republicans, because Republicans now are right-wing extremist murderers.
But, can I just...
supremacists.
Right, and I thank you for talking like it is, and we all have to start doing that. I was listening to some doctor on NPR or something, trying to explain how... trying to excuse people's reactions to the pandemic by not having any information, not knowing what to do, not knowing that. And I'm just thinking, no, excuse me, that's bullshit. There was information immediately as far, if you wanted to have it, you could have it. And to excuse people being willfully ignorant, to preferring the lie and claiming that there was no information, is just unhelpful, to say the least. And that from the COVID thing on back, what you have to do is tell the truth. People were fed lies by again, the Republicans for a political purpose. Killed a lot of their own people, by the way. That's what people should say. The truth.
Yep.
Instead, they say, you're being rude, and that's no way to get those other people to understand. And to which I say, those other people are gone. Hopefully they're old and they'll really be gone soon. But sorry, you don't change those minds. They're gone. But you change all those others, and the only way you do that is by speaking the truth really emphatically now.
Yeah.
No time for etiquette.
And no time for this both sides shit.
Both sides have fine people.
Okay. No, wrong. So there were, this year, there have been 29, as far as we can tell, I'm sure it's more actually, extremist-related homicides. 29.
Right, and if you are going to cast a Republican Party, that is what you are voting for.
Right. They were 26 of the 29 were committed by right-wing extremists.
Yeah, that's what you're voting for.
Democrats. That's right.
You're voting for Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I don't care whether she's not running in your district. That is who you are empowering. So if you're for Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I'm going to say that anybody that casts a vote for a Republican just about anywhere, that's what you're voting for. There's no excuse. And
but Sue, here's the thing: nobody who's listening to you right now.
I'm not talking. I'm preaching to a choir.
The choir. That's a big problem. So we've segregated ourselves, and we're it's just something else. Wow.
Yeah. As I said, I woke up at 4:30 this morning, grumpy because it was no longer daylight savings time, and I was already having a panic attack.
Yeah.
How do we convince our dogs that the time changed?
Well, it's going to take about a week or two, just incrementally shaving a minute off here and there. That's anyone who lives with animals is fucked for a few weeks.
Just looking at me,
that's
going,
all I got to say.
Get up!
I know. I have been up at 6 o'clock every day.
I'm out walking the dog at 7 o'clock, and I just said, screw this.
Yeah.
It's 8. I'm just going to live my life on one-time schedule.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to Mom. I have to tell you, I was talking to Mom the other day, and it was yesterday 2 days ago afternoon, and she said, midway through the conversation, she said, I'm gonna pour myself a vodka. And she said, so I'm taking you into the kitchen. I said, fine, I'm coming with you, don't worry. And I said, but Mom, I'm looking at the clock and it's 4:15 your time. That's before vodka time. She said, how could it be 4? I said, well, because your body is telling you.
They haven't changed the clocks in the kitchen.
Well, that doesn't matter. Her body says it's 5:15, and her body knows vodka. So I said, Go with your body clock. Go with the body clock, which she did, and little by little, she'll sort of come around. But we all have body clocks.
Well, I just think we got to pick one and stick with it.
Yeah,
this is hard, and the older you get, it doesn't happen. It just doesn't.
No. Let's change the subject to the most unbelievably grotesque story that I've seen.
I thought I had just changed the subject from the most unbelievably grotesque story. Okay, go on.
And this one comes out of Wisconsin. So, Spring Valley, Wisconsin. Not sure where that is.
Me either. It must be one of these new suburbs around a town that they don't want to be part of. Like Pleasant Valley used to be Kenosha.
Yeah.
Pleasant Valley. And I'm going, where's that? Right. Pleasant Valley. Oh, Kenosha.
Oh, right. Well, it's Kenosha without black people.
Right.
That's what it is.
Pleasant Valley.
Hi, yeah.
Welcome to Wisconsin.
So this story takes place in it says Pierce County. I don't even know where that is. That sounds north. I don't know. Pierce County. It involves a registered nurse and
I read about
this story. Oh, it's just beyond friggin' belief. It takes place in a nursing home in Spring Valley. Some poor soul. I mean, this guy seems like, oh God, a 62-year-old guy. And just to make a long story short, the 38-year-old. Well, I'll just read this. Let me read it. This is the Washington Post. Mary Kay Brown had plans for the dying man's foot. As the registered nurse amputated his right foot on the afternoon of May 27, she told colleagues that her family owned a taxidermy shop. Her coworkers recalled her saying that she planned to take the 62-year-old patient's foot from the nursing home and display it at the shop. According to them, she said she wanted to put a sign next to it. Wear your boots, kids. She has been charged with 2 felonies.
Well, that's a relief. Mayhem and inappropriate taxidermy.
And intentionally causing bodily harm to an elderly person.
Elder abuse.
She cut off this guy's foot with let me get this, because this was the part that made me crazy.
Was he out cold? How was she operating on him?
No, he was awake. Now, here's the thing. His feet had been frostbitten, and they were gangrenous. And he had probably lost they were blackened. They were stinking. He was dying. And I mean, an argument could be made that the feet should be amputated. I mean, they thought he was going to die in hours. He lasted a few days. She said it was because she felt for him. And it says here, this is what the affidavit says. She decided she had to take the foot off. So she corralled 2 coworkers, identified only as Nurse 3 and Nurse 4. Nurse 3 stabilized his foot while Nurse 4 held his hand. Both nurses told him, as Brown changed the bandages, she said, I can't believe they haven't taken this foot off. So she, with a gauze scissors, did.
Ugh.
How is that even possible?
Well, it was pretty far gone, that foot. But that said, how can you...
That's right. But so Nurse 4 said, I was busy holding the man's hand. And then all of a sudden, his foot was gone.
So they didn't know what she was going to do, because I don't see the difference between Nurse 3 and Nurse 4 and the police officers helping George Floyd, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know. And then she remembers that the man's grip did get extremely tight, and he was moaning a little bit.
Okay, you've officially made me...
All right.
Is anybody having breakfast?
Nurse 3 said that Brown, the felonious nurse, the amputating nurse, mentioned taking the foot home to epoxy it.
Well, that's illegal too, you know.
listen, none of this would have been known except one of the other nurses says, no, we need to keep the foot. And when he dies, the foot needs to go with him. And so when the poor soul died, it says it was placed in a red biohazard bag and put in a freezer, although Brown was pushing Nurse 4 to retrieve it. Anyway, so he died days later. His body and foot went to a funeral home, and it was only there at the funeral home when they saw that the guy's foot was not attached to his body that they called police.
I even knew this, and I thought, and now I feel like throwing up.
I mean, I'm sorry I'm laughing, because, I mean, it is... It's a
terrible story.
It's a kind of good old-fashioned horror, as opposed to the fearsome, unknown future we're heading into. And this poor guy's out of his misery. God almighty. Unbelievable. It also makes you wonder, what kind of a facility is this? Where there was what? No oversight that some poor soul could be there with
I mean, what sort of a facility was it?
Ever came? I can't even imagine. I don't know. A good old American healthcare kind of system facility.
Wisconsin, yeah.
It was. Well, anywhere in America. It's just unbelievable. Yeah, Margaret says Wisconsin, the new Florida. Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't have hurricanes.
Yeah, but I want to say speaking of craziness in Wisconsin, the guy's name was Ed Gein, and that is who Alfred Hitchcock based Psycho, the movie Psycho, on.
Right, you went to his house.
I went to his I went to a probation hearing.
The Bates Hotel.
No. He had, Ed Gein was a farmer in Wisconsin, and he had a barn that was filled with, you don't even want to think about it, but he dug up graves, and I mean, his mother's being one, and he, gutted them and made land, made furniture out of their skin and stuff like that.
Boy, you're a laugh riot today, Lynn.
This might be interesting. Get this. Ray writes, ladies, I know you mentioned that you're preaching to the choir, but I must confess that after a lifetime of Democrat turned communist back to Democrat, I've lost the tune we're supposed to be singing. My grandmother and parents are spinning in their graves after I voted today. You're kidding me.
Hey, what did you do? Did you vote for Dr. Oz?
He voted for Republican. He must have. I am more afraid of the cultural revolutionists waving little red books than I am of Hungarian brown shirts.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Just look at the human beings. I mean, how could you vote for Dr. Oz? Even Oprah, said don't. Oprah, who is right up there with Danforth, is putting more awful people forward.
I cannot talk about my concerns, even to you two, without being vilified. So I silently resist. I can't be the only one. If they win, it's because we lost. No, if they win, it's because you voted for them.
Right. What is it? Well, I don't understand, Ray.
No, I know why. I think I do, because I know what gets Ray's goat. And I think there's a lot of people like Ray. And it is the
sexual stuff.
It's the sexual stuff. It's the gender stuff. He's a good Catholic.
Well, then, Ray, you don't have to do any of that, and the rest of it isn't any of anybody's business. I mean, Eddie, Eddie Izzard,
insane to vote for these ugly killers. The others are just friggin' scolds. They're idiotic scolds. And believe me, they can be silenced. They make me crazy. But I'm not going to throw out the baby with the bathwater. It's too late. He already voted. But he's suggesting there's a lot. Okay, so there's a lot of people. He's not going around advertising it, although he just told all of us. But Ray, I hope you won't regret that vote. But you sided with the fucking fascists over what? People who are a little. Well, I'm just going to say this, both sides.
Nobody is threatening Ray.
Extremes,
Nobody is threatening Ray personally.
Yeah, but he doesn't feel threatened.
The people that he's
a white male.
He's a white Christian male.
Heterosexual male. He doesn't feel threatened.
No, but absolutely everybody else does. So I don't know what you're right. You should be silent and you should be ashamed because you know better. And in fact, no, he shouldn't be ashamed. He agrees with them. He thinks he, as a white Christian male, has the right to dictate how everybody else lives their life. And shame on you.
Undone by some drag queens, Ray. Undone by men in skirts. It was too much for you, huh?
Well, I'm sorry. That really upsets me.
It's upsetting. I have been willing to. I totally understand the absolute revulsion I think some people feel because it runs counter to everything that we thought we knew, right? But Ray, it has been proven, even in the animal kingdom, that it is not simple this or that. That it is that people come in many complicated packages.
People are animals, and animals do this.
I am with you, Ray. I am with you in your rage against these lefty scolds who think everybody should turn on a dime and they get to decide what you can say, what words you can use. And I have railed against them. I don't want anyone telling me what I can or cannot do or think, if they're leftists or if they're right-wingers. But Ray, those, boy, the threat to so many people, real people, that you are for some reason can't see, the threat to our democracy. The Democratic Party is not made up of these people you're talking about. They are a small part of people, and they don't always vote for Democrats. But the Republican Party that you have apparently voted for, they are hook, line, and sinker of the same mind. And it is a repressive, vindictive, anti-democratic, racist, anti-Semitic
liars
mind. And you voted with them because some guys, to your mind, are wearing skirts and lipstick and telling you you're supposed to
let them? They aren't telling you anything except leave me alone. And instead, you made a conscious decision to try to harm them. I mean, that's how I feel. Well, but this upsets me. Because this is what happens. People just, What's going to happen to me? And I feel that way about any group. I read something about, someone said if you think gay people have nothing to be afraid of, then you don't have any gay friends. You just, know a gay person or something. And I said, my reaction to that is, excuse me, stop dividing us. Everybody has something to be afraid of right now, except for some reason, white men. And they even have something afraid of, and they're afraid because we're trying to stop them from being the deciders, the controllers, that it's my way or the highwayers.
Well, they've always had it.
They've always had it, but now all we want to do, guys, is make it a level playing field in which you have to compete levelly, equally, the same way as anybody else.
You don't like it?
No.
Okay, well, Ray, I'm.
You knew what was going to happen, Ray, so we just did it for you.
Wow. No, I was saying I have a woman who teaches Holocaust studies in schools all over the place, and she's been in my house for a week, and I was talking to her about how she's so immersed in what happened that she's not exactly up to speed on
what's happening.
What is happening. And so we had this long conversation, and I told her, I said, this lifelong question I always had has finally been answered. And the question was, that I've had since I was a child, and I'm sure Susan did and every other little Jewish kid did, is how could a civilized nation, educated people, culturally advance, allow that?
Yeah, this happened in Europe, folks. Europe,
slaughter. White people, good old white people. Yeah. Murdering people that I guess just didn't quite meet the proper requirements. So I always wondered, and I said to her, I know the answer now.
Yeah, we're watching it. And it's because people,
it's happening
like
now.
Ray, vote for things that don't bother them. And you know that old thing, they came for them and I didn't say a word, and they came for this one and I didn't say a word, and then they came for me and there was no one left. Hi, Ray.
Well, they never came for the white guys.
Well, we're coming.
No. Ray. And you say your parents and your grandparents are spinning in their graves. Shame on you.
Right. You've gone against everything you were taught.
Unbelievable.
Because Brad Pitt put on a skirt. He looked bad in it, by the way.
Oh, I hate it. I couldn't know. I saw a picture the other day. I mean, I have the same, I like. Ugh.
I know you do. You and I have argued about it on your show.
I do. Well, fine. If they wanna, if men wanna wear skirts and high heels and makeup and get into that whole bunch of crapola.
You haven't been paying attention, Bo. Well, I don't mind if they want to wear skirts. I think it makes more sense for men to wear skirts and women to wear pants.
Well, that's true. Well, that's true because of the way they pee.
Because of the way we pee, and because, we need to be protected.
Right. God.
So I have no problem with that. All you guys, you go ahead and put on your skirts. I don't want them. You put on the high heels, and that way you can't run away.
We got some skirts. We got some skirts you could use. I never wear.
I haven't. No. I bought a skirt 3 years ago. It still has the price tag on it. I haven't put on a skirt in years.
Okay. Well. Wow, Ray. You have no idea what you did to me.
You upset us both, Ray.
I really feel like I've been punched in the gut. Okay. All right. Jesus Christ, help us. Okay, I think that's it. We're actually out of time. Hey, I posted, I don't know if Kevin, do you think we could post that? I want to thank Bob and Braddock. Actually, I think it was actually Mark who posted it on YouTube. The first Lynn Cullen live show, and it's from 2009, and it's the first time I did the internet, that I was not on radio, that I was on the internet. And I started, and we couldn't even take it. There's no video, there's no calls, there's nothing. But there I am back after a 3-month silence. And I listened to a little bit of it, and boy, for a time capsule thing, it's interesting because I'm talking about the hope I have that leaving radio, we can get back to talking to each other and listening to each other.
Oh, well, so much.
This is how naive can you imagine? Oh. And that was me just, 2009? Yeah. 12 years ago. And you listen to the hope in my voice. Listen to my concern about where we're heading. It's on an auditory time capsule. You listen to that. I had to bail out after we had commercials. When I went to the first commercial, I bailed out because I actually had to get ready for this show. But my God, do you remember? I had commercials.
Yeah, I do remember.
Started with this city paper thing. All right. Well, that's how long it's been. People often say, how long have you been doing that? And so 2009.
Wow.
Started. Okay. Yikes. But so I know, I think I sent it to Kevin and asked if he could post it on Facebook. That would be nice. If you want to distract yourself while biting your fingernails today.
Yeah, and tomorrow and the next day.
Night. Yeah, and the next day and the day after that. And, well, the problem is that the early returns, if they're bad, I mean, certain things like like early votes on the Eastern Seaboard, if you start seeing Republicans taking Democrats down, it's over.
Well, I'm not going to say it's over till
the fat lady thing.
No, I was going to say until this skinny lady says it's over. So we'll see.
Okay.
We'll just see how you see. That's the problem with this. We don't know. We'll just see how it happens.
I so want to be proven wrong in my pessimism. I
hope you are.
Want. And yes, thank you, Kevin. Kevin says he did post that. And I do recommend it. First of all, after 3 months, chilling, I'm rested. My brain is working. No ums or ers. I'm speaking in coherent sentences. I had a bigger vocabulary then.
Well, you were 9 years younger.
Younger brain. I know. A younger brain. Wow. I was listening and thinking, hey, you should have a show.
It's up there, Lynn. I just saw it. Okay.
Okay. All right, Sue, thank you. My door.
You're welcome. I'm going to vote.
Okay. So, bye-bye. Gotta run. Gotta run. Bye, guys.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.